Hello, this is Unit 8, Lesson 3. We're looking at arithmetic series. All right, you see our objectives for today. A series is the sum of the terms of a sequence. A sequence is just a list of numbers. A series is when we're adding numbers together. You'll be able to tell the difference between a sequence and a series, where a sequence will just have commas between each number, each term, and a series will have a plus or a minus sign between each term. Okay? So, this is how it's written. This is some new notation for you. This is called sigma notation. Okay, this big letter here is a sigma. Okay? So this is what it means. If I said evaluate this by hand, this is our rule. Okay, you always have the variable. You have the starting point. In this case, it's 3, or starting value. And then the last value is 6. And then our rule is 1 plus j squared. You can put in any variable here. It can be x equals 3 through 6. But whatever variable is on the bottom here, the bottom of the sigma, also has to be here. All right. So what you do is you say, okay, I'm starting with 3. So I want to do 1 plus 3 squared. I want to do 1 plus 4 squared. 1 plus 5 squared. 1 plus 6 squared. I'm going to evaluate each of those. Okay, 3 squared is 9, plus 1 is 10, 4 squared is 16, plus 1 is 17, and so on. Okay, we can add all these up if you want on the calculator. You will need your calculator for this lesson. If you don't have it already, pause the video and get your calculator. Okay. All right, so all these add up to 90. So this sum equals 90. All right. If this was just a sequence, you would just see these numbers here, separated by commas. But since it's a series, we're adding them all up. We're finding the summation of all these values. All right. So we're going to give everyone a SOL formula sheet that has these series formulas and how to do them by hand. We'll also talk about how to use the calculator. If you have a newer calculator, it's going to be much easier to do some of these. Okay, so if you have an older 83 or an 84, might not be a bad idea to borrow a newer 84C plus from a friend or a sibling. All right, especially for this unit, and if not, for the SOL. Okay. All right, so these are all by hand. Now, let's say I want to find the sum of the first 20 terms of this sequence right here. All right, so again, it's a sequence because it's separated by commas. Okay? I'm telling you I'm looking for 20 terms. I know what A1 is. A1 is 3. Okay? For all these formulas here, you're going to need something different. Okay? These are all just different ways to find the sum of a sequence. And you'll use different ones depending on what information you already have. All right, but more often than not, you're going to need A1. You're going to need to find D. So A1 equals 3. What's D equal? What's the common difference? I'm telling you it's a sequence. All right, so there has to be a common difference. Well, not unless if we don't say it's arithmetic, of course. Okay, if we say it's an arithmetic sequence, it has to have a common difference. So D in this case equals 5. All right. N goes up to 20. In other words, the total number of terms is 20. There's 20 terms, so we say N equals 20. All right. So we're going to do all 3 of these. You should get the same answer for all of them, just different ways of going about it. All right. So S sub n, that just means the summation or the series, what it's going to equal to. So I have N over 2. Well, N equals 20. Over 2. 2 times A1. A1 is 3. Plus N minus 1. Well, N is 20. Minus 1 is 19. Times D. D is 5. So you can use your calculator if you want. You can write it out. All right, so S sub n, or the sum of this series, is 1010. If you have a pretty good feeling for this, go ahead and try the next two. You might need to find some other information to do it. I'm going to walk through it anyway. But if you feel good about it, pause the video and try them. All right, how about this second one? S sub n equals n over 2 times a1 plus an. All right, well, we don't have an yet. All right, n equals 20, so a sub 20 we have to find using the explicit rule. All right, so remember the explicit rule. You can use your formula sheet. A sub 1, which is 3, plus n minus 1, which is 19, times the difference, which is 5. All right, so we're just finding the 20th term, so we can use this formula here. All right, 3 plus 95 is 98. So a sub 20 equals 98. In this case, we're using that for a sub n. N over 2, so 20 over 2 equals 3 plus 98. It's not 20 over 2 equals. Okay, 20 over 2 times. So it's 10 times 101. And like I said, we're going to get the same. Again, just different ways of doing it based on the information that you're given. Okay. So this last one, oh, well, this is written in sigma notation. You can use the calculator for this. All right. We'll talk more on the back page, next page, about actually using the calculator. But I just want to break down what this is telling you. Again, you have your explicit rule here. You have your variable here, your starting point, and your end point. In this case, n equals 20. So we're going to use the calculator for this. Come back and try this one. We'll be able to see on your notes if you did it. Okay, if all you have written on your notes is use calculator, you're not going to get a stamp. When we're done with this video, you need to come back and do this problem with the calculator. Okay? All right. So we have a series. Now let's write it in sigma notation. All right, so we need some information here. We need A1. We need D. All right, and we need N. All right, well, there's 4 terms, so N equals 4. The first term equals 4. The difference between each term is also 4. Okay, that is a coincidence. That won't always happen. So you write that as sigma n equals 1 goes to 4. And then I write my rule. So the explicit rule is 4 plus n minus 1 times 4. So you need to be able to write an explicit rule like we did last time, or day 1. Okay? All right, try number 4 and check your answer. All right, so the trick with this one is that you got to find out n. All right, you can tell that d equals -3, so you just fill in the blanks here. It would go from 4 to 1 to -2 to -5. So you count all the terms, you get 6 terms, so n equals 6. All right. So let's find the sum of each finite arithmetic series by hand. On the front, I believe I missed some fill in the blanks here because my screen is shorter. Okay, a series can be finite or infinite. Okay, can be finite or infinite. We're working with the finite series right now. Finite just means they end. Infinite means they keep going. Okay, in case you didn't pick that up. All right, so find the sum of each finite arithmetic series. We're doing this by hand right now. All right, so you need to find n for this one because we're missing some, right? All right, so A1 is 4. D is 5. All right, so this goes from 14 to 44, right? 44 minus 14 is 30. I know the difference is how much? Difference is 5, all right? So there's 6 terms from 14 to 44, okay? So to get from 14 to 44, there's 6 terms. Well, 44 is one of those 6. So I've got 5 more terms here that I don't see, all right? So 5 terms that I don't see plus the 4 that I do, that means n equals 9. Okay? Another way to do that is you can just set up an explicit rule here. All right? The last term is 44, right? So a sub n equals 44. The first term is 4. The rule is going to be n minus 1. And I know the difference is 5. So I can just solve for n here. Okay? I need to do plus here. 4 plus n minus 1 times 5. Let's solve that. Subtract 4. Divide by 5. Add 1 to both sides. N equals 9. Okay, and then you can just write your rule. Sigma. N goes from 1 to 9. And my rule is 4 plus n minus 1 times 5. All right, so that's our rule. Just to review that, we need to find the sum now. All right, so which formula can we use? We have all of these. The simplest one would probably be the middle one from the front. So that's n minus 2. So that's 9 over 2 times a1, which is 4, plus a n, which is 44. So 9 over 2 times 48. You can use your calculator here. You should get 216 as your sum. All right. The extra step here is finding the rule. We didn't have to do that. It's just a good chance to review it. Okay. So go ahead and try the second one. Again, you got to find A1, you got to find N, and you got to find D. Okay? And then find this total sum. Pause the video, and I'll have the answer when you come back. All right, so for the second one, you should get a sum of -285. You should have found that N equals 6. You may have been able to figure that out without plugging all that in, but this is how you would have done it. All right. So let's go ahead and talk about using the calculator. Again, if you have newer calculators, okay, so I'm going to write this right in the middle here. New calc, so like 84, C plus. This is what you would do. You would just press the alpha button, press F2, select summation. You'll get this where you can just plug in your values to the boxes, and then you'll type your rule right here. Okay. So if it's given to you in sigma notation, super easy with the new calc. All right. I'm going to walk through more how we do it on the older calc since there's more steps. All right. The older calc, you need to find the sequence first. All right. So to do that, you press the second button, you press the stat button, so second list, go over to ops, select sequence. Okay. All right, so you go sequence. You got to type your rule in. The rule here is 2n minus 1. You can use x instead, no big deal. 2x, oops. Two x minus 1, comma, tell the calculator what the variable is. The variable is x, comma, okay, n goes from 2 to 6, so you do 2, comma, 6. Press enter. It gives you the sequence. Okay. Then you go second, stat, math. Okay, so we do second, stat, go over to math, and select sum. And you're just going to type the second button and answer. Well, you got to select sum first. So select sum. Second, answer, enter, gives you the sum of that sequence. Okay, so the series is equal to 35, or S sub n equals 35. Okay. All right, so try number 8, and I'll have the answer when you come back. All right, for number 8, you should have gotten 183. If you didn't, go back and check, or you can ask us in class. All right, so the last thing is, can you tell the difference between a sequence and a series, and finite or infinite? All right, so remember again, a sequence is a list. A series involves addition. You can add negative numbers, so it's all addition. You could say subtraction technically. Finite means it ends. Infinite means it continues. All right. So this first one, number 9, are we adding or are we listing? Well, there's commas, so it's a list. So it's a sequence. Okay. How can you tell if it goes on forever or not? If you see any ellipses there, there's 3 dots. It goes on forever. If you don't see that, it doesn't. So it ends. So it's finite. All right, go ahead and try number 10. All right, for number 10, you should have gotten that it's a series and it's infinite. Okay, go back and do the problem on the front where we said to use a calculator. Okay, make sure you can do that, and we will see you in class.